When I first moved to Australia to begin my studies, I was lucky enough to be able to stay with a friend whom I've since elevated to fairy godmother status. My friend Marilyn is not well-to-do by most measures, but her generosity knows no bounds, and I knew that I could not stay for longer than I should. It was 32 degrees Celsius and 80% humidity when I left Singapore, and snowing when I arrived in Lithgow. In the midst of settling into a new country and conceiving an idea worthy of a PhD, I finally moved into a one-bedroom unit 3 months later. On the day of the move, as I shifted box number 3, of 3, into the kitchen lounge, a profound sense of loneliness came upon me. I crumpled into a heap and let the tears fall. As my shoulders heaved, I felt a nudge at my elbow. The physical contact shocked my tears to a stop. As Booty the cat continued to headbutt me, I made a resolution to borrow some books from the university the very next day, just so I could chat up the librarian. As an exercise physiologist, I wondered about the physical pain in my heart. As it turns out, you can literally die of loneliness. We now live in a time when population aging is upon us. And this should come not as a surprise, because we had fair warning. The rise in birth rates after the World Wars gave us an indication of what's to come. And the numbers are quite staggering. So we had about 70 years to get used to the idea. In the US, the population aged above 65 is set to rise from 46 million today to 98 million in 2060. Right here in orange, the population aged above 60 is set to rise by 56% in the next 15 years. So in 2031, 1 in every 4 persons will be a senior. So we live in a culture that celebrates youth, so age in itself is an issue. The physical changes and the psychological changes that are associated with aging presents a barrier to socializing. We also hold on to mistaken beliefs that older people should slow down. They should be in a more restful state, and maybe they should even have things done for them. So in our adult lives, we form social networks through work and play. We form social networks through our jobs, through businesses, even through our children. In later life, retirement is one of the causes for us to lose those social networks. Culturally, in Australia, Australians seeking a tree change may find themselves moving several thousands of kilometers, creating a physical barrier to social participation. Think about some who move to be near their child. It works great for a while until the novelty of visiting grandma and grandpa wears off. Moving again is often not an option. So the problem of social isolation is compounded in regional and rural Australia. There may be sufficient activities organized in regional Australia, but sometimes it is the lack of access to information that stops participation. In rural Australia, it is a complete lack of services that fosters social isolation. So by the time I was in the middle of my PhD, I was bound to the region, and I could not make the weekly visits with my fairy godmother anymore. And I knew I had to do something quick before I ended up in the heap in the kitchen lounge again. But even as I began to feel lonely, I knew that I was in a good position because I had a purpose. My purpose in completing a doctorate had me doing tasks that was necessary for the completion of the PhD, which facilitated social inclusion. So I am equipped with the tools, the social tools, to enable me to become inclusive in society again when the need arises. Thus, a sequence of events led me to decide that learning to pilot an aircraft was a worthy endeavor. Before I knew it, I was up at 5,000 feet. Learning to fly brought my social life to new heights. See, when I took action to alleviate my loneliness, I made the ultimate social connection. Because you see, I soon discovered that flying lessons came packaged with a fiancé. At no extra charge. In my quest for knowledge, I found love. So technology is a fertile platform for creating connections. Technology provides information. It can also provide direct connections. Technology is a fantastic tool for helping us to connect. But sometimes, spoken words are lost in translation when typed. The physical contact from Booty to cat stopped my tears. The sense of touch, eye contact, a smile, a firm handshake cannot be replicated even with the most creative of emojis. So I can have a lot of friends online, but I cannot be a friend to everyone face to face. Sometimes time is a factor, but the reality is that things change, people change, and it's not possible for each of us to get along with everybody else. It's not possible for us to enjoy doing the same things all the time. So this is what I think we should do. Let us make creating connections between people our purpose. Let us introduce people to one another. Let us introduce people to activities through which they can meet other people. Let us create links between people. By being the link, we can create prospects through which people can find their purpose. By being the link, we can create valuable connections between individuals and relationships that continue in our absences. If each of us take the effort to create a connection with another person or create a link between two other people, then the collective effort will lead to a decrease in isolation. It takes a village to raise a child. But with the aging population, we can take inspiration from the phrase. In this context, perhaps it takes a village to care for a retiree. We all long to belong, and everyone should have someone. So pull up a chair, grab a cuppa, share a yarn, give, and you will receive satisfaction. Thank you.